92.7 3FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Your decision to openly fight your removal process directly puts you against the executive arm of government. Legal luminary Ansari warns, as he says, Justice Gertrude Tokonu will find it difficult to work with the executive going forward.
The Chief Justice has shot herself wrongly in the foot by commenting the instant proceedings. It's not good for her. It's not good for the country. It's not good for democracy.
What does the governance expert think of this back and forth? We'll find out. Also coming up, National Labour Commission directs three striking universities, workers' unions to call off their industrial action. Meanwhile, GTEC is accusing the unions of bad faith. Also coming up later, Ghana Water Company Limited begins spilling excess water from the Wager Dam, warning the company will not accept blame for damages that may be caused to property. And much later on the program, Ashanti National Disaster Management Organization takes urgent action to avert flooding in communities in the Kumasi metropolis. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, a leading legal practitioner and former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwekwan Sansari, says that the suit by the suspended Chief Justice seeking to halt her removal process was ill-advised, insisting Justice Gertrude Tokonu should not have pursued that course of action. Justice Tokonu was on Wednesday filed an interlocutory injunction at the Supreme Court seeking to halt the work of the five-member committee established by President John Mahama to inquire into the three petitions against her. She's seeking some 16 reliefs, including the exclusion of two Supreme Court justices from the investigative committee tasked to probe into the matter. Let me quickly run you through some of the reliefs. She said that a declaration that upon true and proper interpretation of Articles 17(1) and 2, 19, 13 and 14, 1467 and 8, 2811 and 2951 of the Constitution, a Chief Justice has the right to a public hearing in proceedings before a committee appointed by the President to inquire into a petition presented for the removal of the Chief Justice. She's also asking that a declaration that upon true and proper interpretation of the same articles, the right of a Chief Justice to a public hearing and all the incidents of a fair hearing may only be excluded in the interest of public morality, public safety, or public order. Again, a declaration that under the same articles, a Chief Justice who is called upon to participate in a hearing conducted by a committee constituted under Article 1466 to inquire into the merit of a petition seeking the removal from office of the Chief Justice can waive the privileges of quote-unquote in-camera proceedings. I'll just read the last one out of the 16 to you. A declaration that under Articles 19(3), 23, 1461, 2, 4, and 6, and 296 of the Constitution, a determination of a prima facie case in respect of a petition for the removal of a Chief Justice or Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature is a quasi-judicial process requiring a judicious evaluation culminating in a reasoned decision. So I just read 4 out of the 16 reliefs sought by Madam Gertrude Tokonu to you. You can find the full one on 3news.com. But a former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwekwan Sansari, believes that the Chief Justice has made a wrong move with her suit. Listen to his explanation.
the race can make or mar the relationship between the chief justice or mar, i.e. the president. 2, the chief justice has shot herself wrongly in the foot by commencing the instant proceedings. It's not good for her. It's not good for the country. It's not good for democracy. This is a process that the Chief Justice herself ought to appreciate, that it is embedded in the Constitution. The wrong signal to the nation is that she has something to hide. When, to all intents and purposes, she may have a good case. But it's like she's drowning and she's trying to, clutch onto any straw that may come her way. That's not how, to litigate that, sensational and sensitive, matters of national importance and interest. I think that whoever advised her to do that, has still advised her.
And you heard the former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kwaku Ansah-Sareh, Martin Pigbu, also a legal practitioner, says although it is well within the right of the suspended Chief Justice to seek redress, it will do her name as well as the image of the judiciary good if she resigned from office.
It's within her right under the Constitution. Any person who feels aggrieved may approach the court to ventilate their claims. We can't take it from her, right? So it can legally, it can go on. The only thing is that from day one, I've been saying that, and I still believe so, that, look, because this whole process, is kind of weighing on the integrity of the whole justice system, it would have been better if the suspended Chief Justice had resigned. The way we are fighting over this, it's quite messy.
And you heard the private legal practitioner Martin Pigbu. Let's bring in governance expert with CDD Ghana, Dr. Eric Osai-Kwapong. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. And real quick, the name is John.
John, thank you so much, sir. Let me first find out from you what you make of the latest action by Justice Gertrude Tokonu. What does the optics say in terms of governance?
So as lawyer Martin Pigbu has said, it is within everybody's constitutional rights to be able to, seek redress of any grievance if you feel that a certain process is not designed to work the way it is worked. If you feel any kind of grievance, sure, the most proper thing to do then is to turn to the court to say, I have some issues with this process. Here are my grievances, address them. So as a matter of, or as a principle of good governance, that's the way to try and resolve or address any grievances that you may have. I know that the way it is looking, it looks as though a suspended Chief Justice who's part of the judiciary who also embodies that institution is in some kind of quote-unquote a fight with the executive, in the sense that all of this was also triggered by a petition that the president received. But that is also part of what institutions are designed to do, to mediate tensions, issues, challenges that may arise, even among different branches of government, different institutions that represent our democracy architecture. For me, the long-term issue is how the courts decide the issues that are coming before it becomes precedent for how in the future we would end up settling some of these issues should they ever arise.
But let me find out from you whether you agree with those who think that perhaps for the image of the judiciary and for her own integrity, as it were, she shouldn't have even taken the step of filing the case herself at the court.
Well, I respectfully disagree with that position, right? Because if this issue also impugns on the integrity of the office of the Chief Justice, her person, and the judiciary as an institution, I can also see the reverse argument, which is do this to ensure that whatever you believe are unclear or unsettled questions around some of these constitutional provisions, do that, right? Yes, an element of that is I'm sure part of it is to ensure that she is sort of vindicated, throughout the process. But for me, some of the questions that would be answered, some of the issues that will be settled would also become precedents that I believe the judiciary as an institution may potentially also benefit, from it. So I don't think that, in my opinion, I don't think this hurts the integrity of the institution of the judiciary or even the integrity of her person, right? You can look at it as, well, I'm being accused of having done all these things for which I must lose my job as a Chief Justice. My integrity is at stake. And if the court offers me an opportunity to be able to defend and protect that integrity, I will use it. And so that's why I respectfully disagree with that position.
So do I hear you say that irrespective of how the case goes, as in the petition or this very case filed at the court by the Supreme Court, it will still be in the interest of the judiciary in the long term?
Yes, I think in the long term it benefits not just the judiciary, but I think it also benefits the country in terms of its governance architecture, because certain issues will be settled, certain questions will be clarified. And for example, one of the issues that constantly keeps coming up is the issue of transparency around Article 1406, Clause 8, right? Perhaps this process is telling us that at some point we may have to make some fixes to certain constitutional provisions if we don't like the way the process is currently designed.
And this question before you go, lawyer Kwekwa Sansari, for instance, is arguing that by her action, the CJ has shut every door of either being reinstated or being able to work with the executive arm of government. Do you see things the same way?
No, I mean these are issues that you are trying to resolve using laid down constitutional processes. These are institutional questions that you are trying to resolve, even if it is being triggered by a particular individual. So let's just say that when it is said and done, she's exonerated, right, for the sake of argument, right? I don't see how that then makes it difficult for the executive as an institution to be able to work with the judiciary as an institution. That, for me, is how institutions mature. That regardless of your deep disagreements, that whatever happens as a result of a particular process, you are still able to live in harmony, exert your independence, and be able to work together. That, for me, is the beauty of institutional maturity.
Dr. John Osai Kwapon, thank you so much for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
And Dr. John Osai Kwapon is a governance expert with the Center for Development, CDD Ghana, sharing his views with us now. The National Labour Commission, NLC, has directed striking university unions to immediately call off their indefinite strike. The Senior Staff Association, Universities of Ghana, the Technical University Administrators Association of Ghana, and the Federation of Universities Senior Staff Association of Ghana declared a nationwide industrial action on Wednesday, May 21, citing the government's failure to honor agreement on improved conditions of service for their members. The unions have vowed not to resume work until their demands are met. In a statement signed by the Acting Executive Secretary, Dr. Benis A. Welbeck, and issued on May 21, 2025, the NLC, however, invoked its powers under Section 1391D of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, to demand the suspension of the strike. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, also says that the unions have acted in bad faith. And there's a statement released by GTEC. Christian Yale joins me in the studio with a copy of it. Christian, just run us through what you have.
Exactly. And so this is a statement that is addressed to the chairman of the Senior Staff Association Universities of Ghana. And I mean, GTEC is basically saying that the industrial action is illegal. And it says that per the directive the Minister of Education issued, the Commission says it is expressing regret and disappointment about how the senior staff are handling issues regarding the implementation of their negotiated agreement with the government. Now, it gives a background here that the agreement was signed on the 12th of November 2024, and for some reason the implementation could not be effected before the transitional period. And so it is going ahead to make a case that the senior staff are also aware that ministers of state were appointed in February 2025 and the budget was read in March 2025. Now, before they intended to embark on their strike, the Minister of Education at a meeting in April assured them of commitment to resolve the issue. In addition, they are also aware that upon receipt of their intention to embark on the industrial action, these actions that I'm going to run you through were taken by the various agencies. The first of it is that a letter was written by the National Labour Commission on the 13th of May, inviting all parties for hearing on the 21st of May 2025. Again, the senior staff met the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission on the 19th of May 2025, and they were assured that all necessary steps would be taken to resolve the matter. Again, GTEC itself sent an invitation letter to the senior staff on 19th of May for a meeting on the same matter on the 23rd of May, which is tomorrow. Now, GTEC says it is therefore surprised that on the morning of 21st May, which is yesterday, the Senior Staff Association issued a letter to all the campuses declaring a strike action. Consequently, GTEC is saying that neither the Senior Staff Association nor their representatives showed up at 2 p.m. for the hearing at the NLC, and so they deemed the actions of the Senior Staff Association as declared by the NLC as illegal and is deemed by the Commission itself to be in bad faith.
Thank you so much, Christian Yale, and we'll bring you more on this. Try and reconnect to a representative of one of the unions currently on strike. Now, members of the Mortuary Workers Association have threatened to lay down their tools should their negotiation with the government for better conditions of service yield no fruitful result. The General Secretary of the Association, Richard Kofi Jordan, in an interview on Sri FM's Sunrise, said that although efforts have been made to ensure the safety of workers, more are needed.
With the nature of our job, you cannot, respectfully, you cannot be working without your protective equipment. With the nature of our job, life, to the viruses and the pathogen. No, we still don't have. We're still in the same mess. Some, let me be fair to some.
Yes.
Some facilities are doing well. Many of them no. Last week we met the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service. We're still engaging. We see, they'll tell you, as for PPs, it's a general problem across the country. Even doctors struggle. And this is the excuse that I want you keep telling us, which is not good leadership. The law is clear that if I think that I am not safe in an environment to which my employer has put me, I have that right to withdraw my services. That's the law. I'm not the one who actually enacted the law. The Labour Act 203 stated it clearly that when I feel that I am endangered, that my life, I could lose my life out of the negligence or irresponsibility of the employer, I have the right to withdraw my services. So we are still negotiating, we are still talking. In fact, we need to negotiate for PPEs. No, see, as a union, remember, strike is always the last resort. We are not quick to decide to strike. We want to negotiate, we want to sit down, we want to judge, or let's have solution. They'll tell you, okay, fine, give us, don't write later, it will go. It takes time. The problem, the challenge is that the internal generator funds to them is not enough to cater for many of the things on the ground.
Well, he also outlined some challenges faced by the association.
Most of our public facilities, apart from the ones that are new, are in a very, very disturbing state. To the point that if you ask me, many of them are not fit for purpose. Many of them are not fit for purpose. For some reasons, mortuaries are managed by facilities in which they operate. Unfortunately, people are not willing to spend the small money they get into renovating and then making sure that there's value for money. And so it is what it is. We have always advocated for our mortuaries to be in a safer place. Mortuaries should be standardized, should be now with ventilation. Unfortunately, where I got to yesterday, I couldn't breathe. No ventilation, it's just a room, some rooms with some holes, and they call it a mortuary. We are saying that everybody should get involved so that death care becomes beautified. Because we are not in a very good state.
And you had the General Secretary of the Association of Mortuary Workers, Richard Kofi Jordan. Let's return to our first story about the issue regarding... Just stay with us. When we come back, we'll tell you more about what the Ghana Water Company Limited is doing regarding a spillage of excess water.
Ghana, it's a new year and Bill's Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bill's offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bill's makes it happen. Call Bill's Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bill's is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bill's, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba. Hey, freezer. Adama. Akwa semenhia Adama metimoso ma sorry kanino obobo mu ase a adwofrefre no bia mienu miensa na se nan atene wotimi di abase Adama fo adwena kuafo ho hu se ye de aduro ba kope e be chifu ye bia high technology akofo freezer ba wenku a eno anso benya 15 latest ni wa hwiegum watia no hwiegum o de basia fu ye bia ni wa basia bio ekoti se obetimo no nemu ye sure say o mention tasie nemu ase na afọ na anu a freezer umpa we na apade freezer
dasia ebe so doso aman amoni age
omuti na me wo sika omuti na me di me nyina du ba so mdu mdu Adama wo that Adama no kua Adama you can't resist
ubenya Adama West Africa for adwe bi wo be bibia ye ton kraye ho adwu afi kayo na kenkan enchoya ewo adwe ho.
Some 22 minutes past the hour of 12. This is still the midday news on 3FM 92.7. Let's return to a story about the National Labour Commission directing 3 striking university unions to immediately call off the strike. We're joined by George Anson. He's National Chairman of the Senior Staff Association Universities of Ghana. He joins us live on the phone. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
First of all, are you able to tell?
Thanks for having me.
Are you able to tell us what specific agreement the government failed to honor? The reason you have declared this indefinite strike?
It's our condition of service, which is reviewed every 2 years, and we concluded negotiations last year November and signed. And after yesterday, the government had failed to implement. Not that we have not followed up, not that we have not written the letters, not that we have not met with the big men. But fortunately for us, just today in the evening, the government has released a letter instructing direction for implementation. And GTEC has also written this morning to the universities to implement the decision. So we are engaging our people, because we are 3 unions, we are engaging all of them to take a decision to call off the strike. The government has done its part.
So we are likely to see you call off the strike, say, by end of today?
Yes, so as I'm saying, we are still engaging. So once government has done its part, once we finish the engagement, we'll issue a statement.
If you're still engaging, just want to find out from you, what are the conditions or the key conditions that must be met before your members agree to return to work?
Well, for me, for now, I think we are satisfied with what we have received. But as I said, the Technical University National Chairman is not around. He's in Boga. The FUSAC Chairman is in Accra. I am in Kumasi. So we need to engage, because since we all signed, we need to all come with one voice. So that is why I'm saying we are engaging.
Mr. Anson, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Welcome.
And you had George Anson, National Chairman of the Senior Staff Association Universities of Ghana, one of the unions striking over conditions of service. Let's go to the Ashanti region now, because the rainy season has arrived, and with it, the devastating effect of flooding in part of Accra and Kumasi. Blocked drainages clogged with silt and compounded by buildings on waterways have worsened the situation, leaving many areas submerged. But now, the Ashanti Regional NADMO office is stepping in with urgent measures to mitigate the crisis. Ibrahim Abubakar is my colleague in that part of the country. He joins us live on the line. Ibrahim, what exactly is NADMO doing to address this issue?
Okay, so Beatrice, over the past years, flooding has become a norm in some communities in the Ashanti region. Many times it rains heavily. And they've observed that building on waterways and also filling of wetlands are contributory factor. However, heavy deposits of sand in some of the major drainages have also been identified to be a major contributory factor, because when you look at last week Saturday's rain in Kumasi that flooded many homes, you realize that where the incident or the flooding incident happened were homes that were within or around some major drains, especially Abuabo, Sabunzongo, and Sawaba. So the NADMO has observed that because of the heavy silting of the drainages, you will find out a drainage that was initially constructed and was about 10 feet deep. It's now around 3 feet deep. So anytime it rains, this water overflow its banks and end up in many homes. So this morning, beginning today, they have begun desilting major drainage. In fact, 16 major drainage systems have been identified, and they have begun with the desilting of these major drainage. But over the years, these activities have been done. However, whenever they desilt these drainages, they leave the sand behind these drainages, and it ends up going back. This time around, they have collaborated with the various assemblies, and anytime they remove this sand, the sand is being carried to other places so that they will not end up going back to these same drainages. So that is the intervention they are taking immediately to make sure that they minimize the impact of this flooding, because the flood will come, but how do they minimize the impact to make sure that it doesn't cause the havoc that we are experiencing in the past 2 weeks? So these are the interventions that NADMO is taking beginning today and to the next few days.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim Abubakar, for bringing us that update. Now, should anything bad eventually occur in Ghana, the Water Company Limited's ongoing spillage of the Wager Dam, the entity says it would not take the blame, as it has done what is expected of it. All stakeholders, including chiefs, opinion leaders, district assemblies, and even residents, have been sensitized accordingly. Currently, per the bulletin of the Water Company Limited, the water levels of the dam are pegged at 44.5 feet, which are being managed with 2 gates spillage out of the entire 5 to ensure stability in the region of 44 feet. And we'll be bringing you more of this in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to ShriNews.com for more news. Good afternoon.
gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Greetings in the name of His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, Jah Rastafari.
It has always been a journey of Pan-Africanism and consciousness. It is your regular taxi driver with the urban blend and 3FM 92.7 in living stereo every day, Monday to Friday from 12:30 p.m. till 3 p.m. This is the show everybody listens to, so your business will certainly do well here. My name, Black Rasta. I am the rootical, hairtical, Don Gargan, Mua Fire, come forward. Atinga ya chika fankare, Azure ya chika fankare, Abama ta chika fankare.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
3FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana Stock Exchange tops West Africa with over 30% Q1 growth as investor confidence and economic stability drive strong performance. We'll hear from Managing Director Abinamwa.
As of May 18th, the GSE equities market has recorded a very strong performance. Our index was up over 30%, the best in West Africa.
Also ahead, Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, cautions electronic VAT invoice issuers against tampering with system, stressing offenders could be sanctioned.
If a taxpayer decides to bypass the system, there are certain sanctions that are available in the law. You may be fined or you may even be imprisoned.
And Gold Board extends deadline for transition to new gold trading license regime to June 21, 2025, but export rights under defunct PMMC and Lands Ministry cease immediately. These stories and others lined up for you. Please stay with me. Thanks for your company. Now to the very first story. The Ghana Stock Exchange, GSE, recorded over 30% growth in the first quarter of the year, emerging as the best performing securities market in West African sub-region. Managing Director of the GSE, Abinamwa, attributes this impressive performance to renewed investor confidence and increased trading activity on the local bears. She expressed optimism that the growth will surpass that of other markets across the continent by the end of the year.
As of May 18th, the GSE equities market has recorded a very strong performance. Our index was up over 30%, the best in West Africa. Our financial stock index is also up about 33%. And there's renewed investor confidence and robust market activity. Our market capitalization at over 143 billion Ghana cedis is a growth of over 70% compared to the same period last year, but it's still paltry compared to our GDP. We are looking at a market capitalization of only 5% of our GDP. This number should be about 30% where we stand in Ghana. On our fixed income market, volume achieved or traded so far is about 87 billion versus 57 billion at the same time last year, up about 53%. And so there's progress being made here, but there's still more we need to do.
And that was Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamwa. Now, government will borrow 5.55 billion cedis on the treasury market tomorrow, May 23, 2025. This will be done via the issuance of 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day bills. The funds will be used to settle maturing bills worth 5.35 billion cedis. Demand for the short-term instruments has declined in recent times, with the government missing its target for the third consecutive week. Last week, investors submitted 5.35 billion cedis in bids, but the Treasury took only 2.76 billion cedis, a sharp pullback from the previous week's full acceptance. To some other stories, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has cautioned electronic VAT invoice issuers against tampering with the system without prior notice to the Commissioner General. According to the GRA, taxpayers who bypass the system will face sanctions, including fines, imprisonment, or both, as stipulated in the VAT Act. GRA VAT Technical Lead Opoku Efriye Asante emphasized this during a tax and good governance education session on personal income tax and taxpayer rights and obligations in Accra.
There are quite a number of sanctions that have been instituted in the VAT Act. That's the VAT law. So whenever you need to make any changes or system changes to the system, you need to inform the Commissioner General. And by the Commissioner General, we mean the team. So it could be the tax office that you are assigned to or the relationship manager that you have assigned to. You need to inform them that these are the changes that you seek to do or implement. So once you inform the Commissioner General of the changes you need to make, the team will, together with you, implement those changes so that it wouldn't have any adverse effects on the EVAT system. We just want to protect the integrity of the system so that what you report as the number of invoices that you've issued through the system will be what the GRA would also have, so that there wouldn't be any discrepancies from the changes that you seek to make.
Opoku Efriye Asante is the EVAT technical lead at the Ghana Revenue Authority. Meanwhile, the authority noted that it has addressed many of the system's initial challenges and urged issuers to report any issues to GRA officers, promoting a collaborative approach to resolving problems.
Some of the challenges have been the timeline within which we expect them to have onboarded to the system, especially for taxpayers or for the large taxpayers who have their systems. So, for example, the Melcoms and then the ShopRites, they have complex and large systems, and then they need to do what we call integration. So for some of them, it took about just a week or two, but for others, it took quite a number of time for them to be able to complete the integration of their system with the Commissioner General system. So those have been a few of the challenges, but aside that, I think we've had a very successful deployment of the EVAT system, and then I think we should commend GRA for the efforts that have been made in that regard.
And that was the EVAT technical lead at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Opoku Efriye Asante. The Ghana Gold Board has extended the deadline for transitioning to its new gold trading license regime from May 21 to June 21, 2025, following stakeholder petitions. However, it reiterates effective immediately, only Gold Board can export small-scale gold from Ghana. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details. In the interim, Gold Board says existing licenses issued by the now-defunct Precious Minerals Marketing Company, PMMC, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources remain valid for local gold trading only. But it emphasizes that, starting June 22, only those with a valid Gold Board license will be permitted to purchase, sell, or deal in gold in Ghana. Notably, the board says licenses previously issued by the Lands Ministry can no longer be used for gold exports effective immediately. From May 22, 2025, only Gold Board, a corporate entity, is authorized to export small-scale gold from Ghana. The board has encouraged the public to apply for licenses through its portal. It says the application process will remain open beyond the deadline, but unlicensed activity after June 21 will be considered an offense under the new Gold Board Act. Gold Board says the move aligns with President Mahama's vision of maximizing national benefit from Ghana's gold resources. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Gold Board extending deadline for transition to gold trading license regime to June 21, 2025. And that brings us to the end of Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, it's3news.com. Thanks for your company.